Where does Auburn go from here at QB, and is it time for Auburn fans to hit the panic button? It's time to talk about it on this week's version of the Weekend Tailgate.
This is the Weekend Tailgate, brought to you by Golden Cast Iron. C-Dub, I Joe, Be Will, by G. You are now listening to
Guys, it's the Weekend Tailgate brought to you by our friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/rapport and use code Get Your Weight Up to get 15% off your weights and code TWR to get 65% off your fire pits and Kamado grills. If you want to throw your worries, your burdens into the flames, do it on a Golden's Cast Iron Kamado grill today. I know I'm firing up the grill, and I'm maybe tossing Auburn's offense on there first. See how that tastes. By our friends over at Golden's Cast Iron, longtime sponsors of the War Report. We appreciate them for sponsoring us. You guys know the deal. As always, share this video on social media at the War Report. Hashtag Get Your Weight Up. Like and subscribe. These likes help us quite a bit. So when you interact, when you leave a comment, even if it's just to say hello on this video, everyone watching here should go to the video after the video and drop a comment in the comment section. Check us out on Instagram and on Twitter. The X always throws me off. Check us out on X and IG and TW Report on TikTok. All right. It's time to face the music, I guess. After yesterday. Yep. Auburn went down to Arkansas 24-14 yesterday. We're going to do this a little bit differently. But before we do, give the people some housekeeping here and tell them what they can do.
Yeah, you can become a member of the War Report, whether you want to or not. We're still going to watch the film. It's there, and we're going to take a look at it. I went and rewatched this game, and it is just as miserable as it was live. But there are some things out I can point out where it's like, okay, this isn't as terrible, but it's still not good. But hey, listen, definitely a lot to clean up, but some things we can take a look at on the film. If you are a member, you want to gift a membership, you could do that right now by going over there and gifting somebody a membership to the War Report. And you can be a part of this great Green Name Gang community that we've got going on here. And make sure you take a listen to us on all of the networks, man. We got the podcasts out there doing a lot of good work. We're the Auburn Express. Uptempo Podcast is over there. They did their breakdown or their review this morning, and they were very passionate. So you can hear that back on podcast if you want to. The College Loop, I'm sure Dylan will have plenty to say himself. And then we've got the Just a Sec pod out there. But that's it for right now. We got more coming later. Let's get into this content.
Let's get into this content. He faced the media after the game last night. As I mentioned just a second ago, Auburn lost 24-14. Yet another game, Mike. Auburn loses where they cannot hit the 21-point mark versus a Power 5 opponent. It was really disappointing, I think, to see where this offense is at. Hugh Freeze was asked some questions, more questions than I think he got against Cal in the 5-minute presser. This one was 10 minutes. But let's start with his opening statement after he came into the press room.
I don't have the words to. It's just sickening that we can't take care of the football on offense, and I've got to get that fixed. And I think we had 431 yards. They had 334. I thought our defense, other than third and longs, if we could just get off the field on third and longs, that defensive effort would have been remarkable, truthfully. But the third and longs they got 2 third and long conversions on penalties, and then converted, I think, 5 of 8 third and longs, which is just we can't do that. But they played hard on defense, and I think our offensive guys played hard. It's just discouraging. You have one possession in the first half that you don't turn the ball over as you're moving it, and we turned it over on the Arkansas 29, the 0, and the 27. I don't know how many points they got off of that, but it had to be some. And obviously the possession time in the first half when you're doing that is atrocious. It's miserable to watch that.
A lot to unpack there. The last thing he said about time of possession, just a note for our listeners, Auburn lost time of possession 36 minutes to 23 minutes, roughly about 13 minutes more. Arkansas had the ball, yet Auburn outgained them in total yards by nearly 100 yards. What do you make of these comments here by Hugh Freeze about, their performance being miserable to watch?
I agree with him. It was miserable to watch. When you have clearly Arkansas fans, be mad at what I'm about to say, the more talented team on the field. And the issue is your discipline gets in the way.
Yep.
It was an undisciplined Auburn team. The penalty on the third down that eventually led to the first Arkansas scoring drive, he had thrown the ball away. You get a late hit. That's a lack of the hit is inconsequential. It wouldn't have affected the throw. It wouldn't have made it there was no reason to hit him. You hit him. Extend the drive. They end up scoring on that drive. The other miraculous touchdown where he's rolling around 3rd and 19 and he heaves it downfield, undisciplined. He's my boy, Keontae Scott. He's not playing his deep third the way he's supposed to, and he lets a guy get behind him that's coming over from the other deep third. That's your area. No discipline. For whatever reason, again, my boy, Damari, on his way in to score, does not secure the football. Undisciplined. You can't do those. Now, the interceptions, I don't think have much to do with discipline as much as you got a young quarterback who was, eyes in the wrong place at a couple of times. And then the tipped pass from Payton Thorne, that's on Cam. You got to catch that. Or if Cam is not healthy enough to be able to extend fully, don't have him in the game. Right? Like, it's miserable. Very miserable to watch a football team that is completely, from a talent perspective, able to get a win, and you come away losing a game that was very winnable, that Arkansas really acted like they didn't want to win either. Like, they were just like, I
want to add, there are things about this defense, obviously, that need improvement. We talk a lot about secondary play not being where it needs to be, and I certainly understand that perspective, is valid. However, 334 yards of total offense. If you didn't watch the game and somebody just showed you the stat sheet and said Auburn allowed 24 points and only gave up 334 yards of offense, you would have thought they won.
For sure.
Now, I called this game 31-24, so Arkansas did exactly what I thought they would do. Auburn, however, is the mystery that we seem to be unable to figure out. 0 points in the first half. They got shut out in the first half of this game.
And should have scored on a couple of drives, yes.
Yeah. And so, I mean, it is really, really frustrating. We're going to get to Hank Brown's performance. He's saying it's miserable to watch. And if we're talking about discipline, I'm sorry, but that's a coaching issue. If you are the leader, so if you have an undisciplined team, what does that say about you?
Yeah, I don't know. I don't know what it speaks to, because Auburn has had this issue now, it seems like, for years.
Right.
It predates Hugh Freeze, and I'm trying to figure out, like, how do you get that cancerous thing away from your program?
Before we get down the rabbit hole, I just want to make sure I state for everybody, I'm not on the fire Hugh Freeze train. But when accountability is asked for, and he said this later, and we'll play the clip, you got to look at leadership. So if you've got guys who are undisciplined, Austin Keys is he's not a trouble guy.
Right. Like, and that's what I'm saying. I don't think it's a bunch of guys who, like, he called the play selfish, and I mean, which it is.
Yeah.
But it's not like you got a bunch of knuckleheads on this team.
Yeah, he's not a knucklehead.
But for whatever reason, there are mental lapses.
But that was a bonehead play. Yeah. That was a bonehead play that would have ended what ended up being a scoring drive for Arkansas.
Yeah.
You know, I don't if he doesn't do that, that half maybe ends 0-0. So it was interesting listening to those comments. Now, obviously, Hank Brown got his first start in SEC play yesterday, and here's what he had to say about Hank's performance.
I thought he deserved and earned the right to have the start, and I was anxious to see how he performed in SEC play, and love Hank. And, you know, I want to say this now. I'm big on our players knowing that they're not defined by performance as an individual. That's a bad precedence for me. Man, they're loved as individuals and cared for, but this is a performance-based business for me, and I get judged on that. They get judged on that, and he did not play well in the first half and missed open guys and obviously threw the ball into coverage, and we're in red zone again and double clutches one and kind of floats it over the middle. And so obviously we're not doing a very good job coaching quarterbacks right now.
Obviously, we're not doing a very good job coaching quarterbacks right now. Here's where I'm at. This decision not to go after a QB in the portal is going to be scrutinized to high hell until Auburn gets this fixed.
It's like 80% of the comments.
Yeah.
Like, this is all because Coach Hugh Freeze didn't want to spend the money on a quarterback.
Now, we were of the first to report that they were not going after a QB in the portal. Other sites and, you know, tried to clickbait people into saying, oh, Cam Ward and this and that. I'm not saying they didn't look at those. I'm saying that it wasn't realistic.
Yeah. Not at the price tag. Yeah.
Not at the price tag, right? And the methodology that they are taking toward building this roster. Now, was that a mistake in hindsight? If he had to go do all over again, he probably drops every single dime he has on Cam Ward. But I want to point out to everybody, when you have coaching issues, I hate the idea that we're waiting on a single player to come in and save the team.
Right.
The system is supposed to save the players.
Right.
The process is supposed to save the players. It's supposed to improve the players. So if that's not happening, you know, where do you go from there? This is a really tough conversation, I think, to be having here about Hank Brown. You know, and I don't know. Like I said, it's a lot to be frustrated about.
Let me say this. I mean, yes, the system should be able to save the players, but the frustration for Coach Hugh Freeze is it's not as if guys aren't wide open out there. Like, it's not as if the calls are so spectacularly wrong. It's that the execution has been not even 4 interceptions in 2 different Power 5 games so far this season is crazy. Like, it's absolutely insane to think about the fact that you have 2 different games where you've thrown 4 interceptions, and in each of those you threw 3 of them in one half.
Right. So let me add this. I agree with you 100% on everything you just said. I just want to add that this is the quarterback room you picked.
For sure.
So these guys aren't getting it done. Either the talent was misevaluated, or what he said at the end of the clip, we're not coaching QBs very well.
I think the answer is the first of the two, actually. I think it's a misevaluation on the front end of the talent that you have in the room. Because when you go and Coach Hugh Freeze last week, after the Cal game, said he had a meeting with both of the quarterbacks, and they talked about the whole process by which they're going through the thing, right? It's like, here's the play. What defense are they in? What are your checks that you need to make at the line of scrimmage? What coverage do you need to do? Where do you need to go with the football? And they understood all of those things. So you've coached them to understand the stuff. The problem is when they're getting in the game, they're not able to execute that stuff. So you can't coach somebody out of bad decisions in the moment. You can coach them to be prepared for the moment, but when the moment happens, you got to go and do this stuff. And we can talk about it all day, and we can have conversations, and we can have meetings, but I can't go out there and make the plays for you. And that is some guys just when the lights are on, they don't have it.
What? I'm gonna do my stuff. Look, it's disappointing. I think it's disappointing, and I think there's no way around saying that it's disappointing. Now, I was in the camp that thought Hank Brown should have gotten the whole game to be as terrible as he needed to be. And it seems like truly all he got was a half in SEC play before they pulled the plug on him. And so, where are you now with it? It's, hey, like, can you go back to Hank Brown after this? You didn't trust him with the whole 4 quarters. Can you really go back to Hank Brown after this?
I mean, you can, but I don't know. How do you even make the evaluation, right? Because the issue that you have for Hank Brown is his decision making on those plays where he threw the first 2. I still argue that third interception wasn't really a pick, but whatever. Okay. But the decision making on the first 2 were freshman type decisions. And so do you bench him because he's making freshman decisions? Because he's not going to get better at not making freshman decisions without playing. So how do you improve his ability to do that without playing him in the game? And at the same time, you are now in a position where you can't really afford that kind of mistake. You could afford that mistake earlier in the season when you weren't 2-2, but now you kind of need to win.
Right.
And so who's going to give you the best chance to win now? Here's the question that he has to ask himself. Does Hank Brown and his mistakes give you less of a chance to win than Payton Thorne and his mistakes? Because they're different kinds of mistakes.
Right.
I think the ceiling is higher with Hank, but I'm not really even sure where the floor is. Like, if 3 interceptions is your floor with Hank, that's not very good either.
Yeah. The whole idea behind putting Hank Brown was to see if there was a higher floor.
Right.
Even if the ceiling was the same, a higher floor means you probably win that game because you're not throwing 3 picks. Right. It's just really, really tough, I think. Before we move on, I want to thank show sponsor Autograph. Guys, Autograph is your one-stop shop for the best news, tickets, scores, and swag to power your daily sports fandom. Being a fan is hard work. Let Autograph do the heavy lifting. Follow your favorite teams and leagues and get informed with the best articles, podcasts, videos, all in one place. Each article read, each video watched, and podcast listened is counted as an act of fandom. As you complete acts of fandom, you gain coins and level up in your team community, get recognized for your fandom and rewards as you level up and earn coins. Autograph has tickets to all your favorite teams' games, and best of all, you'll never pay hidden fees when you purchase through the app. When you just have to get there, choose Autograph. Where real fans meet real rewards. Download the Autograph app in your phone's app store and use code REPORT to sign up so they know that the War Report sent you. We've got the QR code here, so if you're watching on a television, you could just scan that QR code. It will automatically populate with our referral code. In a second here, I'm going to put the link in there so you guys can download the Autograph app. We need 100 signups this month, guys, on Autograph. So 322 people watching. If you haven't downloaded Autograph, help us out. We want them to stay on as a sponsor of the War Report. Moving the conversation forward. He was asked about Payton Thorne. So obviously Payton Thorne came in and took over in the 3rd quarter, and here's what he had to say.
I thought Payton's was pretty solid. Thought it was pretty solid. I thought, he had one off his hand again that was picked, but it was the right read, and I'll have to see how hard the catch was. I'm not real sure how hard it was on that, but thought he played solid.
I thought he played solid. I was okay with the switch to Payton Thorne because I thought maybe the way Arkansas was rushing, they would utilize his legs, which he did on like a couple plays, but it didn't feel like the strategy changed too much with Payton Thorne. What do you make of his comments here on Payton Thorne?
I don't disagree with him. Payton was solid. But again, this is where my issue comes in, is that's about all you're going to get from Payton Thorne is solid. You're not really going to get transcendent, bring the team back, rally the troops. I don't want my 5th-year senior starter to be solid. I want him to be a little bit better than that. And I don't know that he raises your ability to play football that much more. Like, I do understand that he is a better runner than Hank Brown, 100%, but that wasn't gonna win this game for you.
Yeah.
Is him scrambling around back there. Like, you needed someone who could be surgical to be able to be out there and make the big plays. Now, to his credit, he did leave the touchdown drive with some amazing catches by Lambert Smith one-handed, right? To his credit, that happened. But again, in those big moments, he just wasn't there for you. And I don't hindsight 2020, right? You're going to lose this game with Payton Thorne, right? You proved that. Was it better to let Hank Brown work through it in retrospect? The answer to that is maybe. I don't know. I don't know how much worse it would have gotten after a halftime. That halftime, they didn't even come back out and warm up after the half. Like, it was 2 minutes left on the halftime clock before they even came. They were in that locker room talking for a very long time.
Yeah.
And I don't know what that conversation was like, but I feel like, man, he missed an opportunity to give some confidence to his young quarterback.
Yeah. The decision to pull him, I did not agree with at all. I thought he had a rough half, but he did move the ball. He did make some throws. Obviously, the mistakes are regrettable, but we've seen where the floor is at with Payton. And if it's a coaching issue, then you coach it up and you send him back out in the third quarter, and you maybe pull. I think I'd been more okay with him pulling him mid to late third quarter if it's not working out. Yeah. But yeah, you've given the other quarterback that latitude. The leash was obviously shorter with Hank Brown in there. What's next? What's next at quarterback? He was asked this question. This is what he had to say.
Thank you, Coach. Where do you go from here at the quarterback position as you get ready to head into Oklahoma week?
I have no idea sitting here right now, but I'll go back to work tomorrow on it. I'll be as locked in as I've ever been to try to get it fixed.
I have no idea. I think that's the scariest thing I've heard since Hugh Freeze has been on the Plains. It's
definitely 4 games into the season. I have no idea who I'm going to start at quarterback. It's not where you want to be.
That's tough. That's really tough. So Hugh Freeze has no idea. Is there a possibility? I'm going to ask a hypothetical here, chat. I definitely want you to weigh in. Is there a possibility that the answer lies beyond Payton Thorne and Hank Brown? Is there a chance you get Holden Geriner off the bench, or God forbid, Walker White in his youth? But if there's a coaching issue, I'm firmly against ruining Walker. Like, I don't think that's the answer.
Walker
but
White,
I just want to ask this.
Walker White's not ready, and I don't know. I mean, maybe Holden. Maybe you go to Holden. He doesn't. I don't know that he's definitely got the arm talent. Question is, does he have the decision? Because that's the issue, right? It's not about talent right now. It's about decision making in the moment, and who is going to be the person that decides to protect the football the best. Now, I don't think Payton Thorne made a bad throw in that game, right? Like, it wasn't perfect, but that's a catch that you expect your 5-star wide receiver recruit Cam Coleman to make,
right?
But he also, I think, and I have to go back and watch this probably a third time. After that interception to Cam Coleman, he went back into the hesitancy mode a little bit to say, I don't know. And until he made the throw to Lambert Smith that he caught on that slant that he turned up for the big touchdown, he seemed like he was a little gun shy again. He was like, he stopped trusting what he was seeing again. So, I don't know, man. It's weird because to not know again 4 games into the season where you want to go with the quarterback means that you were never fully confident in the guys behind Payton Thorne.
Yeah.
I mean, to the point that you're so like this projects zero confidence in Holden Geriner because you were willing to give Hank Brown an opportunity. You didn't immediately say, well, we got another quality 3rd string quarterback out there. Maybe it's time to let him play. Like, I don't see any confidence there. And again, I don't think Walker White's ready.
I think that this is something's going on with either the evaluation or the tutelage of these quarterbacks, because all these guys can't suck. I'm sorry. Like the idea that Thorne and Hank and Holden and I'm going to leave Walker out of this, and I'll even go back to Robbie, that all these guys are bad and can't play quarterback. That's the odds of that to me seem low. So something's going on, and we hear things and we get reports, but we're not in the room. We're not at practice during any meaningful time. And we're not in the private conversations that are being had about what direction to go and how guys are being developed. So it's hard to say from the outside, this is definitely happening. But I think that a reasonable assumption can be made, Ike, that you've got some sort of leadership or teaching or tutelage issue.
Yeah, well,
because the problems are widespread. If we're talking about discipline, are all the guys undisciplined?
Yeah,
right?
I don't think the quarterback discipline is lacking. I think the quarterback decision making
is lacking. Yeah, I mean, but he's saying discipline, and he's talking about DBs, and you're talking about running backs, and I'm thinking last year all we heard was talent. We need more talent. We got to catch up in talent. You fixed a good percentage of that this year, yet you look arguably through 4 games worse.
Yeah.
And Hank Brown is your guy. He committed to you at Liberty and followed you here to Auburn, which is why I think he got the shot. I think that's why he jumped Holden in the pecking order. B. Will said it when Hugh Freeze got hired and the discussion about Payton Thorne and Robbie Ashford was being had. He said, I think he's going to play his guy. So these are your guys. And we're hearing less discussion about the level of the talent. And now it's moved on to execution. But how can you have better talent and worse execution?
Yeah. I mean, a lot of young talent. Again, that's a lot of young guys that have not been in these moments. But the problem is it's the older guys that are doing them. Like Austin Keys is the guy who made the mistake. Keontae Scott is the guy who made this. Damari, those are the guys that are doing the undisciplined stuff. And you're just like how are you all that are supposed to be the leaders in these rooms the ones making the big mental error mistakes?
Right. Before the spring, I was asked a question by Zach Blackerby and then from my good friend Pat Smith over at 3-Man Front on Jocks Radio. Subscribe, follow both of those guys if you don't already, about what the ceiling for this team was. And I said, if nothing changes, 7-5. Auburn fans went into a hoot and holler and tirade. You're a secret Bammer. You don't know what you're talking about. You don't even like Auburn anymore. And I'm like, well, again, if nothing changes, if all things stay the same, and a lot of the talent that you're bringing in, they're young and they're freshmen. So I'm giving them grace to improve, 7-5. But I also qualify by saying I think that you can be a strong 7-5 and show improvement and show that you're moving it forward. This does not look like you're moving it forward. That's the issue that I have. You're losing games where you're just not scoring. You're leaving points on the board. I understand everybody's frustration with some of the things on defense, but I would argue that they're on the field way longer than they need to be. So there's more opportunity for them to give up 3rd and longs. And you know what I mean? If Keys' mistake is the only mistake of the game, even out the time of possession by 13 minutes, just close that gap, 30-30. That's 6 less minutes the defense is on the field to have to try to hold on. But 334 yards allowed in SEC play is pretty outstanding.
The defense did their job.
Yeah. They produced a couple turnovers and they kept you in it as long as they possibly can. You got to score damn points to win.
2 interceptions, turnover on downs. You can't ask for more from a defense that's been put in bad positions over and over again, and you just give the ball right back to them a couple of times. I don't understand it. There's no heads or tails of this that's going to make it make sense either.
Let's get to the break here. Guys, you're watching the Weekend Tailgate brought to you by our good friends at Golden's Cast Iron. Go visit goldenscastiron.com/rapport and use code Get Your Weight Up for all your weights, code TWR for your fire pits and Kamado grills. Also share this on social media at the War Rapport and hashtag Get Your Weight Up on social media so people know that you're watching the War Report and they know where to go to find the best Auburn content. Hit like on this video and subscribe to our channel. So if you're watching and you have not hit subscribe yet, please do that. The engagement helps us in the algorithm, so YouTube shows our videos to more people and we can help grow our community. We're on X and Instagram as well as TikTok there. The handle's on the screen. Let's get to the break here, Ike, and after we come back, we got more to talk about.
This edition of the War Report is brought to you by our generous sponsors. The Opelika Rage Room in Opelika, Alabama. The Rage Room is a place where anger and stress find their ultimate release. Call or text 334-777-6688 to set up a session today, or check them out online at opelikaRageroom.com. Golden's Cast Iron. Whether you work out, grill out, or chill out, you deserve the best life possible, and Golden's Cast Iron is here to provide the tools to help you do it. Check them out at goldenscastiron.com.
As always, thank you to the sponsors of the War Report. Thank you to those of you who are our micro sponsors who are out there keeping the lights on. Y'all are the real MVPs of the War Report. War Report doesn't exist without the Green Name Gang. If you want to sign up and be a part of that, there's the stuff right there on the screen. $5.99 gets you the patron level, and we appreciate everybody who has continued to be that level of sponsorship. You can gift a membership if you are a member currently. And we appreciate everybody who continues to do the gifted memberships. Haven't seen anybody gifting memberships today. Listen, man, don't take it out on us. It's not our fault. I didn't take a single snap for Auburn. Don't be mad at me.
Don't be mad. It ain't my fault.
It ain't my fault. You know what I'm saying? You know, I know there is a lot of sadness going around the Auburn community, but you can activate your joy mode potentially at tryjoymode.com. Let's call out the obvious. Everyone wants to head into the bedroom with confidence, feeling like the best version of themselves. I am going to take a few of the Joy Mode packets that I have been given by our gracious sponsor. I'm just going to pass them out in the Auburn locker room when I go down there for the Oklahoma game, because maybe they need a little Joy Mode in their life. I don't know what's happening, man, but the problem is sometimes our thoughts get in the way of our performance, or maybe we feel like we're just not reaching our full potential. Sounds a lot like the Auburn offense. Imagine a supplement you can take like your favorite greens packet that gives you an extra dose of confidence and saves you the embarrassment and the hassle of a traditional erection pill. The 30-pack comes in a perforated box, perfect for your supplement cabinet, pantry, or bathroom vanity. It's the perfect 1-month supply. Support your erection's athletic performance, heart health, and overall quality of life with Joy Mode. Whether you're on the move or traveling, our compact sachets are easy to pack and take with you. Get Joy Mode to boost anytime. Make sure you head over to tryjoymode.com. Use code REPORT that gets you 20% off plus free shipping over there at tryjoymode.com.
Let's try to get through the rest of this segment. It's Hugh Freeze had more to say. This was a longer one. I appreciate that he stuck around a little longer than he did for Cal. 5 minutes and 8 seconds. This press conference was a tiny bit longer than that. We got 10 minutes and 25 seconds. So he doubled it up for us. But our good friend Daryl Dapprich over at Locked On asked a question about self-inflicted wounds. Here's what Hugh Freeze said in response to Daryl's question.
Well, we got to look at ourselves first as coaches, and I don't think it's scheme. I thought we were in some good positions, that they had to make some really tough throws on 3rd and long on the penalty, and then one was selfish, hitting a quarterback out of bounds. That gave them 2 3rd and longs, and they were backed up at that point. And the other 3rd and longs, we lost contain on the quarterback, and our roof player decided to not stay deep. And same thing we did last week. I think the call was okay. Obviously, we're not coaching it well enough, and or have to find young men that will do it the way they're coached.
Whew. Okay. So he called out Austin Keys' late hit, characterized it as selfish. He went on to say, we maybe have to find young men that will execute it as coached.
Yeah.
I'm going to let you chime in here before I give my thoughts, but what do you think here about the self-inflicted wounds?
Yeah, I don't. He's right. Um, if you're being coached to do a thing and then you go out there and you don't do it, then you need to give somebody an opportunity who will go out there and do those things as coached. And maybe those guys might not be the most talented ones, but they're going to be the ones that are going to be where they're supposed to be, and
Right.
they're going to do the stuff that they're supposed to do. But you can't continue to reward people with playing time that are not performing to the standard. Like, that's just not that you're not winning with them. It'd be different if you're doing stuff in the game, but you're getting away with it and you're still, when you're not winning football games, you got to figure out something else. All right, cool. Maybe this person isn't the 4-3-40 guy, or maybe this person isn't like let's take, for instance, your guy, Malcolm Simmons, right?
Mm-hmm.
Malcolm Simmons is kind of the opposite of what Hugh Freeze is talking about in this instance, of a guy who maybe he's not going to be where he's supposed to be all the time, but he gives you a chance to go win football games because, hey, we put the ball in his hands, he goes and does something. Let me find different ways to get him involved because it ain't working this other way. But on the opposite side of that is the guys who consistently eyes in the wrong spot on defense. Golly, man, this secondary is just routinely just being not in the right place. And it's multiple guys. And you're just like, who do we need to put out here who wants to play football and do the things that they're supposed to be doing that the defense requires them to do? And you're banging your head against the wall as a coach, and you're like, I know we talked about this. What's the problem when you get out there on the field? We've definitely talked about this. You guys remember that, right? Like, you can't just keep doing that over and over again and expect to continue to get playing time. Right. He's not
wrong. My thought is, as he stated, he's not wrong. The context that I will add is about whether it's being coached the way it should be being coached, as to why guys may not be where are you coaching it as good as you think you are?
Yeah, I mean, that's the question that they have to ask themselves. Are we not getting through to people properly?
I want to bring this up because one of the things I love about being home and being in the community is you run into people. And there's a guy that graduated from Auburn, and he works with a company that does these personality tests. Back in 2015, this was something that Nick Saban did, where they do personality assessments on coaches and players, and it essentially tells you how guys learn and how you should be teaching based on how your personalities match. This is like high level stuff. It's something that doesn't get talked about enough, but they dug in deep. It's there, and they wanted to let's make sure our guys understand the messaging and what we want them to do at a high level. And instead of just trying to force it down their throats, let's understand how they're going to learn it.
Yeah.
And at this point, if I were Hugh Freeze, man, I'd be looking at everything. I would be looking at every approach I've ever had to anything to see how to get this right, and maybe reconsider some of the approaches that you've taken traditionally, because the game has changed, and if you don't evolve with it, you kind of die here. I want to play one more clip. We got tons of chats today, Ike, and I want to get to some of these chats because I want to get your thoughts on this. But there was a clip about quarterback again, and we're going to stick with this theme. Let's listen to what Hugh Freeze had to say about his guys throwing it to the other team.
Unfortunately, this is what I know, and I know that there's people open, and I know that we're running the football, and we got to find a guy that won't throw it to the other team, and we got to find running backs that hold on to it. That's a huge play there. I mean, we're going in to score. I don't know, what was it, 7-0 then, or so it's 7-7, and our defense gets a stop, and who knows what happens, but. The scheme is what most everybody in the country is running some sort of, but you've got to have good play at quarterback for sure at whatever system you're going to choose.
Yeah. Got to have good play at quarterback. Agreed. Got to go find a guy who's going to not throw it to their team and run backs who won't fumble it.
Yeah.
Agreed.
Let me just say this, man, because you and I talked about this. I don't know that there was going to be an acceptable response from Coach Hugh Freeze to any of these questions for anybody.
Yeah,
like
for sure.
There are a couple of things maybe he could have said differently that would have been more PC, but man, 4 freaking interceptions in 2 separate games. What do you want the coach to say about that? Like, what do you want to hear from your head coach when that happens? When you have had 2 fumbles in your first game versus Alabama A&M, a fumble in the Cal game, 3 fumbles in the last game. You just only had 1 that you didn't recover. And then another fumble again in this game. Every game you've had fumbles.
Yeah.
What do you want your coach to come out and say about that? Because that's, well, you know, we actually coached the guys to hold the ball loosely. So that's our fault. We should have coached them what do you want to hear from your coach?
You know, it's interesting on the Damari Alston fumble at the end of the play, and you and I were sitting right next to each other. I actually thought he was going to get out of bounds to the left.
Yeah, and he jump cut back inside the guy.
Yeah, to try to score. Yeah, and that's when the guy came in and knocked the ball out.
Which
right?
If he had held on to the ball, he would have scored.
Yeah, it was. I thought he was going to get out. I was like, okay, like he's not going to make the end zone on this one. The cut was amazing, right?
Yeah.
Like the cut looked great. And he clearly has the speed to play at this level because he beat a lot of guys to the outside. A few guys took bad angles on him, and boy, he just burned it up there and then dropped it. Last year against Cal, he got hit. No, I think he was hurt on the play. He dropped it.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm a big Damari Alston guy, but
I am too.
My guy, you got to hold on to the football.
Yeah.
There is just no.
I guarantee you nobody feels worse than Damari does.
Damari Alston, yeah. Right now, he's sick to his stomach knowing they lost the game by 10 points, and he essentially ended a touchdown drive. So, that was tough. They're not ineffective running the football in these losses. They're running the football. And I didn't have the numbers up here, but I do want to pull this up before we get to the comments. Auburn averaged. Let me get to it. I'm gonna get to it here because I want to use this. I see some comments here. Auburn as a team, or Damari. Let me go with the players, right? Jarquez averaged 5.6 yards per carry, which is decent. Alston only had 3 carries, but averaged 12.7 yards per carry. Obviously, there was the long there. Without Payton in the game, Auburn only carried the ball 26 times, and they threw it 25 times. And I'll tell you, this is the run-pass ratio that Hugh Freeze doesn't want to see. When his offenses have been the most effective, they are running it more than they're throwing it, flat out. And so whenever you get the passing it more than you're running it, it points to that you may be playing from behind and trying to catch up. So you end up with significantly more passes. And if you're not passing particularly effectively, it's difficult because at some point, even if you're passing effectively to begin the game, once you start to establish control on the scoreboard, you want to run the ball and control the clock.
Right.
So if you're not doing that, that points to a lot of bad things there. Before we get to the comments here, I want to thank show sponsors Rogue Shop. Visit rogueshop.com. Use code REPORT to get 15% off on your Rogue Shop order. Longtime supporters of the War Report. We appreciate them. Also, if you're in the Auburn area for the Oklahoma game this week and after the game you want to get some good eats, visit Vintage 2298 Restaurant and Butcher Shop. They're at 2298 East University Drive in Auburn, Alabama. Some of the best food that will ever touch your lips is at Vintage 2298. Our guy Randall Baldwin, he's the chef and the owner over there, doing a great job serving both his customers and the Auburn community. Let's go to the comments here. I want to thank Brandon Pickens for coming on as a member. We appreciate you, Brandon. Tatiana jumps in here and says Hank definitely needs to start this weekend. No questions out. I think she meant asked. Yeah. I agree, Tatiana. This is something that I said before the game. I don't care how Hank Brown does. I think that he needs to get another start. You've seen a lot from the other guy and Payton Thorne. This is not a shot at Payton. It's just, at some point, Hugh Freeze, there's a clip that we'll play later where Hugh Freeze talks about this being a performance-based business. He's judged on performance. They're judged on their performance in the game. And you've had enough to evaluate the other guy. Going back to Payton Thorne to me says it's an admission by the coach. This is the best it's going to get. There's no way for us to do better. So we just have to ride out this season.
It was a bit of a panicked. I feel like we have to get this game and let me go back to where I'm comfortable. And it's clear he has been more comfortable with the quarterback with the more experience.
Right.
And he panicked and he went back to that comfortable place.
Our guy Smooth, clear Bama fan, but also a member. So that balances out the evil
I think
in the
somebody
university.
gifted him that membership. He ain't really paying for that.
That's okay. Well, he subscribes. Can't get one unless you're a subscriber.
He is subscribed.
Says Hugh never believed in Hank Brown. Auburn fans forced his hand. I could not disagree more with that. I don't think Auburn fans forced his hand. If there's a fan that's forced his hand, it was a booster type fan.
Yeah.
Somebody who paid money for players. But certainly I don't think fans dictate the actions of coaches. I think the situation that this team is in dictated to that action, and the decisions that were made prior dictated that action. But I would not say fans had any hand in Hank Brown starting. Plus, Hank is Hugh's guy, right? Like, so to say he never believed in him, he's been recruiting him since the 10th grade. I don't know if I agree there. Mercy comes in with a super chat, 499. The same team that flew across the country to beat us at home just lost to Florida State. That looks even worse now. Look, Florida State still has talent now. They may be a mess, but they still got talent down there.
Yeah, but Cal just proved to me that they're a bad team. Right?
They're
Whatever Cal fans wanted to say, listen, me saying Cal's a bad team does not mean that Auburn is a good team. Cal's still a bad team.
They're still a bad team. Yeah, for sure. Mercy comes in again. No more for Mercy. Our guy Jerome T. Marshall with a super chat. I did not see the comment, so Jerome, drop your comment again if you had something that you want to say. We'll look out for it there. Same with B. Will's forehead. Didn't see the comment there, but we appreciate the super chat. Smooth again in comes and says 7-6 was the ceiling. Finally, we agree on something. I
don't have any desire to hear anything a Bama fan has to say about our ceiling. Though, so.
Well, I was here, so he's got Auburn for 7-6. They're losing the bowl game essentially.
No, they're winning a bowl game.
A bowl game. Oh yeah. 6-6 going there and winning a bowl game. Appreciate Hot Rod for joining as a member, as well as James Lester. We appreciate you guys. Ben Bloodworth comes in. When Coach Hugh Freeze was hired, Mike said that the QB development would be his benchmark. Robbie left. Payton Thorne setting interception records. Holden is a non-factor. The QB whisperer. This is in his opening press conference. He did say, "I do two things well." Right, and to say his benchmark, right, like that is to me that could be good or bad, right? And what I'm meaning is he would be judged on how QBs do.
Yeah, because that is, he said everywhere we've gone, we've done fairly well with the quarterback position.
Yep.
And it has not looked to be that way thus far at Auburn through 2
Yeah.
years. I mean, it's been one quarterback for the most part, but still hasn't looked good.
Yeah, and again, nobody's saying he needs to have Cam Newtons or Arch Mannings or Quinn Ewers, but the floor of the guys that are playing for you is very, very concerning, I think, and will continue to be a concern until such a time as they fix that. So yes, it was what he said. Right. And so, when you set that as a benchmark for yourself, certainly we will follow suit. Our guy 14, Mr. H, Mr. Mike, appreciate the tickets for the game. Had a great time despite the loss. Ward Have Eagle guys. Sorry we weren't able to link up with you there, Mike, at the game, but we are glad to give this away. I think our guy James won tickets for Oklahoma. So hopefully they put on a better show for James. We appreciate Mike for his long-time support. Fire Freeze. Gifted tail
just so you had to read the name.
Says gifted tail more for memberships. We appreciate that. None of this money will go towards firing Coach Hugh Freeze, just for so people know. Alan Berry just got in. Did you guys see that what Bo Wallace said about Freeze? Yeah, Bo Wallace went crazy.
I think we'll use a whole other segment to talk about these Bo Wallace comments, because I think that requires its own conversation.
It does. He was somebody who played for Hugh Freeze, so he certainly has he's entitled to his perspective based on that. Seems to be a little bit of hypocrisy in some of those comments, so we'll just leave it there.
100%.
Yeah. TJ Lou, I didn't want to ever say this, but Hugh is going to have to turn into Nick Saban and curse these players into discipline.
I mean, I don't know. So you have to find out who your players are. Everybody doesn't respond to that, right?
Yeah.
And so if you didn't recruit guys that respond to that type of coaching, then don't just do it just because you're mad.
Right.
But he's got to figure something out, because the reality is this, and this is this is going to sound like I'm sunshine pumping.
Okay.
But it's truth, no matter whether or not you agree with it. You still have an entire season's worth of stuff. And if you can get the discipline stuff together, you're actually playing good enough to win football games.
Yep.
But you're running out of time to figure it out. But it's still only 2 losses. But it doesn't look good. And you've got to figure out how to convince those young men in that locker room to just look at the next game. Don't worry about what's 2, 3, 4, 5 games down the road and how difficult a road it is ahead of you. Win the next one. And then figure out how to get past that and get to the next one and the next one. Like, stop thinking about our season. Like, okay, listen, you're a long shot away from getting to a 12-team playoff at this time. Who cares? Forget about that. Oklahoma. We just got to win this one, guys.
Yeah. Yep. Lisa Wise, longtime War Report subscriber and member, says, I appreciate Coach Hugh Freeze opening by saying it was sickening to watch. If he had given Coach Beak, I would have lost my religion. Yeah, I mean, it was sickening to watch. So definitely kind of stating the obvious there. It's just, where do you go? I think, great, it was sickening to watch. How do you fix it? How do you get to 6 wins this season? Because, guys, I don't know how to put this. I know that Oklahoma didn't look great versus Tennessee last night. I watched a little bit of that after the game over at Little Italy's with my guy Chris Phillips. But if you drop next week, you got to go on the road to Georgia, Missouri, and Kentucky. And Auburn could be headed into November on a 5-game losing streak if they don't get something fixed. That's crazy. That is crazy. So right now you're 2-2. Chalk 4 more losses, and you're 2-6 headed into November.
Right.
Now I talked with Josh Pate about this, and I asked him. I said, "Is there any way that Hugh Freeze ends up on the hot seat?" And he said, "A 3-9 season will get anybody on the hot seat, but I don't think that's likely." Well, they've got to. If nothing changes here, all those games will be in doubt. You got to figure out how to get on the right side of some of them. So going 2-2 over the next stretch, I think is going to be really important. You got to find your way to 4-4 headed into November somehow. Maybe beat Oklahoma, beat Kentucky, right? Like Vanderbilt took Missouri to overtime. Maybe they're gettable. I don't know. Fire Freeze is back. He says, what did Cadillac do differently? There didn't seem to be this constant running back fumbling problem last year. There were a couple fumbles.
Yeah,
but
I don't know about.
It didn't seem like it was as prevalent.
But it's the same guy. So again, like I don't know. Like, it's not as if there's new running back. So I don't know that it's a coaching issue on the fumbles this year. So
yeah. When it rains, it pours. Sometimes when things are going bad, everything goes bad. So a lot of bad juju going on there with the running backs holding on to the football. Anthony Long comes in with the 40.99 super chat. He says, "Have you guys seen the Aaron Murray QB breakdown from the Arkansas game?" Not yet.
I watched a little bit of it, but
yeah, I'm gonna go back and watch there. I can't imagine it could have been any worse than what he did versus Cal, but I'm sure there are going to be some good tidbits in there from Aaron. He came on the show a couple weeks ago to talk about one of his breakdowns, so maybe we'll have him back to talk again about what he saw during that game. Brandon Lucas here with the $2 super chat says, "Why are we using 3-down linemen on 3rd downs?" This is a question that continues to baffle the greatest of minds.
Yeah, but again, if you execute the scheme properly, nobody has any worries about that. Like, I know you don't want to give a bunch of time to a QB, but there's a couple of things that were wrong on that 3rd and 19 touchdown. One of them, the most prevalent of it, being that you just didn't cover the proper way.
Right.
So I don't know, man. I don't know what the answer is.
Word. Ike, you got to get out of here.
Yep, I absolutely do. I
Right.
appreciate y'all. I don't know if y'all gonna stick on and talk, but I gotta get to work. But we'll holler at y'all next time, man.
I'm going to hang with you guys for a little bit longer now that Ike is gone, and we're going to go through a few more things that Coach Hugh Freeze had to say about what happened on Saturday. So a lot of questions have been asked about the effect on recruiting. Will all these losses on the field eventually have an effect on recruiting? Definitely want to hear from you guys in the comments on this. Here's what Hugh Freeze had to say.
Yeah, I can't answer that. I've been consistent with my message of how I wanted to build it, and that's through high school recruiting, and hopefully they see they can come in and play and help us. There'll be growing pains, just like we're experiencing. I mean, if you look at, last year's team, the best players we lost were the DBs and probably Marcus Harris, and I think we've improved offensively, everywhere except for we're not playing at a high level at quarterback or taking care of the ball. Defensively, we're playing pretty good up front, and we lost a lot of experience in that secondary, and that seems to be somewhere we're struggling a little bit. So hopefully those 25 recruits see that, man, coach is telling me the truth. He's building this, and he's going to do it with us. And now that takes some patience. And people have to decide if that's what they're wanting to do it like or not. And but I think it's the best thing for Auburn and for the long term. But in the meantime, we should expect to play better too. We got to make catches when they come our way, and we got to make throws, and we certainly can't turn the ball over like we're doing right now.
So he said a lot there, but he said that people have to decide whether that's something that they want to sign up for. Going to you guys in the comments here, Rick says, of course they will affect recruiting. You can't beat teams that you're supposed to beat with talent you have. It speaks to the poor coaching. How is this different than Florida? I agree with this comment. I think it's going to be very, very difficult to continue to preach to recruits that this is the place for them if you continue to lose games in this manner. Our guy Cleveland Brown comes in and says Hugh Freeze couldn't see himself paying $1 million for Cam Ward, and now he's thriving for the U. Epic fail on Hugh. We talked about this earlier, Cleveland. That decision not to go after a quarterback in the portal is going to be scrutinized until Hugh Freeze gets this fixed. So if it doesn't get fixed and his tenure at Auburn ends, I think a lot of people will look back at that decision and say, hey, you should have gone out and got a quarterback there. Stephen Allen comes in and says, Robbie Ashford showed out. Why can't QBs play like that here anymore? Just not putting it into the context of Robbie, but just talking about QBs in general. I think that's been the question here at Auburn is why is it such a struggle to get QBs that can play at a high level? Every time it happens, Auburn's in contention for championships. Jason Campbell, even Brandon Cox led like an 11-2 team. You had Cam Newton, obviously, who won a Heisman here and a national title in an undefeated season. Nick Marshall, Jarrett Stidham. It was tough. And in Parsons' first year, they were 6-2 headed into November before Bo got hurt. So a lot of questions there are going to be asked from the supposed QB developer. Our guy, name cannot be blank. Last year, a lot of blame placed on players. I think not enough talent to compete was a quote. Now more talent, and we have regressed. Offense is putrid, and that's the head coach. Where to from here? Well, I think that's where a lot of people have questions is where do you go from here? It didn't look good. It didn't look great on the field, and they seem to have, I think the regression is a good point. Like it seems to have regressed some, and that is definitely concerning here. I'm going to stay on for a few more minutes, guys. If you got a question, please drop your super chats in the comments here. Again, this edition of the Weekend Tailgate is brought to you guys by Golden's Cast Iron. Visit goldenscastiron.com/report and use code Get Your Weight Up for all your weights, 15% off, and code TWR for 65% off fire pits and Kamado grills. Also, if you have not done it yet, sign up as a member. $5.99 a month will get you there. We got 569 people on. And we need all of you guys to be members. So sign up. We appreciate you guys for doing that. Also, this segment of the War Report is brought to you by the Autograph app. Visit your phone's app store and download Autograph today. I put the link to this in the comments. It automatically populates with our code. But if you don't want to use that link, just go to your phone's app store, download Autograph, and use code RAPPORT. All your team's content is there for you guys. We need 100 signups this month on Autograph to keep them on as a sponsor. So, guys, download Autograph today. You guys did great last month doing this. We appreciate you again for doing that today. Let's go back to the comments here. We got new members. Papa J became a YouTube member. We appreciate that. Our guy B and H became a member. Let's keep that energy going. We appreciate you guys for being members. So Nina is just commiserating here. Lots of things to emote there in that particular message. We feel your pain. Walker Stone says Thorne didn't look any better than Hank, even with the interceptions. He did have the one pass to Keandre Lambert-Smith that ended up being a touchdown. Keandre broke loose. It was a quick slant over the middle, it looked like. He did what he had to do there, but ultimately just didn't have enough to pull it out. Our guys' comments are moving fast here. Fire Freeze, again, with the super chat, says, do you know if Payton was still seeing significant snaps with the first team in practice going into Arkansas? Did Hank press looking over his shoulder? I think that they split the snaps the way they do between first and second string. So Hank took a majority of the first team snaps, and Hank and Payton was relegated to a backup role there. Deturez Cooper says, Mike, why not get some of these ex-suburban and on staff? I don't know what you're saying there, bro, but clarify that for me. Going to the comments here. Lots from you guys. We appreciate all the super chats. William Hazard says Peyton Manning threw interceptions in his first game. Even as a pro, he threw a lot of interceptions. I think he led the league in interceptions in his rookie year in the NFL. It happens. That's why I think that Hank Brown deserved a chance to work through it in the second half. I do not agree with the decision to go back to Payton Thorne in the second half. He was making some throws. The interceptions, sure, were disappointing, but coach him up at the half. Try to find out what he's seeing there and see if you can make it work. If you want to go back to Payton Thorne headed into Oklahoma, you can certainly do that. He's a guy who's played a lot of football, so you should be able to go back to him at any time. But, I don't know. I think it's a huge shot to Hank Brown to pull him at halftime. Thomas Jones with the super sticker. We appreciate that. Thomas, if there's a comment, we'll look out for it here as we go through these comments. Papa J with the comment says, it seems that all the hate speech won't help our team. Free said along, it would take time to get where we need to be. You're right. Fans, I think, should temper their expectations and be kind on social media. No need to be out there, but also, as he said, this is a performance-based business, so the frustration from the fans is warranted, and they're going to show it. You can't make $6.5 million a year, guy, and not expect frustration from the fans when things don't go the way that they should, or the way fans think they should. They're invested as well, too. Not everybody's a booster, but if you buy tickets and you show up to games and you support the team, then certainly there's a standard that they have to live up there. The guy who draws what he likes says, I think the worst thing was seeing Michigan pass for 22 yards and lean on other strengths to get the job done. They didn't make excuses for what they didn't have, put together a plan and figure it out. Seems like we're not leaning into the run game enough. They're averaging enough yards per carry that you're getting a first down either every carry or every other carry. So find a way to work the running game in if you cannot trust your quarterbacks. I'm not sure what you're asking here. Will you be on Mike in the segment on Bo's comments? Yes. Okay. Yes. Likely. And I tried to get him on the show once, and I'm kind of glad that I didn't. Now that I see, I had no idea kind of like how he was. I have this thing about social media, guys, and some things are to be said and some things are not to be said. Fire Free says pulling Hank was the wrong decision. Could not agree more. Yes, ex-Auburn QBs. Yes, I'm all about ex-players. Obviously, there was an ex-player on the other side of the field, a defensive coordinator, scheming up the thing that got all those interceptions. I took a picture with Travis Williams. That's my guy. We go all the way back to college in the early 2000s. Glad to see him thriving. Sad to see him thriving against Auburn. Phil Petway says 3 interceptions. Yes, I agree. That was disappointing. A lot of this is disappointing. Tiffany comes in with the super chat. Payton had a couple of solid throws, but he still looked bad out there. Hank should have been allowed to grow up in the second half. Could not agree more. And this is going to be a popular sentiment, I think, that you hear from fans, Tiffany, going in. Like, why pull the plug on Hank so quickly? And was that a result of the pressure that this coach feels to win now? This felt like a must-win game, but you had to have a plan in place just in case it went awry. And I think it would have been better for the team for him to let Hank have the rest of the game and let him tough it out and see if he could have made some plays there. He's got a live arm. And if it's all just about seeing the field, get that fixed and get him back out there. I like the way he throws some of the shorter passes. He's just got to see the field and not throw it to the other team. Going down the list here again, guys, we're on for a few more minutes, so drop your super chats in if you want us to get to your comments. Name cannot be blank says, I believe I keep expectations tempered. I wasn't expecting 10 wins this year or last year, but I was expecting to see progress, and we're not seeing it. This is just disappointing. I think you can win 7 games and show improvement, guys. That is a strong possibility. But we didn't see that, and they're trending backwards right now. I think there's a realistic expectation that or worry that Auburn may not make a bowl game, which is crazy that we're here talking about that. We saw Vanderbilt take Missouri to overtime. Can Auburn win that one? Which of these games can Auburn get here? Because you've got one more at home, and then you've got 3 on the road, and you don't come back home until November. So going into November, 2-6 would be an absolute nightmare for Hugh Freeze. Definitely don't want to see that. J-Dog says, terrible fake punt. I was surprised at that. I was really surprised at that fake punt. It had a low percentage chance of working. Warby Mom says, I think eventually putting Payton Thorne back in was the plan all along to give him a redemption story like Jalen Hurts or Jalen Milroe. I think you mean Jalen Milroe, but either way, he used that as an example in talking to Payton Thorne about why his story might not be over at Auburn. And I'm okay with it, but I just felt like, again, if you talk about what happened with Jalen Milroe last year, Buchner was given an entire game, and Milroe came in the next game. You pulled Hank at halftime. I don't think that was the right idea there. Our guy Rand Stokes with the super chat. We appreciate that. Start holding next if he sucks. Put White in. I don't know. I don't think I agree with putting Walker or White in the game at this point because if you had a coaching issue, they're only going to transfer to Walker. You don't want to damage him as a QB. You know, it's a spurious thing trying to play a young quarterback because you've got to manage that correctly or you could shake their confidence. And once you lose it up here between the ears, it's really hard to get back sometimes. So they need to manage Walker White correctly. Do not go into such panic mode that you put that young man out there to the detriment of himself and his development and the team and the team's future. Mercy with the super chat. We appreciate that. When they scored, I knew the game was over because Thorne sucks at comeback wins, especially when it's 2 minutes left in the game. Yeah, I mean, Auburn has not played well from behind, and I don't think that can be disputed. So it's been rough when they've had to play from behind. Rand Stokes again with the super chat says, start holding next if he sucks, put in White. I think I got to that one already. Sorry, guys. I got one more video I want to get to here before we get out of here. Let me get Rand's comment off the screen here. But Hugh Freeze was asked about the game plan and what he felt about the game plan. We still got 500 of you with me here. So I'm going to play this short clip, and we're going to talk about what Hugh Freeze had to say about the game plan going in.
Coach, today we saw some empty sets. You tried what looks like more different things out there. What was the strategy on how you guys were planning to attack the defense today? And how did you try to adjust here in the second half?
Well, I thought the plan was really good, honestly, and didn't feel like at halftime we needed to change anything. You know, we've been effective running it. People were open. I thought we could win some in our empty sets with our receivers. And, you know, so, and we were willing to, you know, go from empty to other sets too if we felt like we had an advantageous box. But, I'll have to look and see how effective it was. I mean, there was some, obviously Dre's touchdown came out of that, which that was our answer to their pressure. It was a side adjustment. Really good job by him and Payton seeing that.
He liked the plan, and they did have guys running wide open, which he's not wrong about. The execution was not there. They've got to go back to the drawing board and see how they can improve execution. So Nita with the super chat says Milroe returned looking good. Payton Thorne, they still looked bad. I don't think he looked great, so I'd have to agree there that he did not look great upon his return. A lot of people are looking around the SEC and they're saying good to decent quarterback play from other teams. Diego Pavia came from New Mexico State. He seems to, have Vanderbilt competing at a higher level than they've competed, and it's hard. It's hard to watch this. Sub-Zero says, I died laughing when the punter took off. It might have been delusion, but it was funny. Yeah, it was. Again, curious call there. A low chance for success, but it wasn't great. Wonder Boy Wardam Eagle says Freeze is actually in over his head. He hires horrible coaches, fires excellent coaches, and can't develop talent. He was perfect for Liberty, but horrible fit for Auburn or any other top team. I'm not sure that I agree with this comment, but I will tell you that one of the superpowers of the better coaches in these conferences is being able to hire good assistants. Saban went on a long streak of hiring great offensive coordinators. It paid off in championships for them. You need good QB developers, and you need guys who understand offense at a high level and can call plays at a high level here at this level. Kirby Smart is doing the same thing at Georgia, and they have top talent. Just getting talent is just half the battle. You can have dudes everywhere, and if you don't know how to manage those guys, you'll end up in some trouble. Guys, that's it. I think we're going to get out of here. Before we get out of here, I just want to remind everybody to share this video using @TheWarReport on social media, especially on Twitter, where Auburn Twitter is very active. You can like and subscribe to the YouTube channel. Hit that, smash that like button. There are 500 people watching. There should be over 500 likes on this video. And after the video, drop a comment here to let us know. If we didn't get to your comment today, drop it. We'll continue the conversations in the comments after the video, but that helps us in the algorithm, helps people see our content a lot more. So I'm asking you guys, please, even if it's just to say hello, drop a comment after the video is over. Follow us on X and Instagram, TW Report on TikTok. That's it for another great edition of the Weekend Tailgate. We'll be back at you tomorrow with the morning drop. Ike was going to drop something for you guys, and as always, on Tuesday, we do our presser recap video with our guy Charlie 5 over at Locked On. So we're signing off, and as always, War Eagle.